have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Does that make it any better? Are you hearing me now? He says, looking desperately into the chat. Somebody give me a thumbs up if you can hear me now. It looks like you can hear me now. Yeah, thanks, Paul. So, what a piece of shit that program was. 7 Spotlight. The androgynous thing that Channel 7 sent out. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. It's pretty weird. But what a pathetic piece of journalism it truly was. In case you didn't, if you watched it and you didn't pick up on it, most of the footage in that entire 1-hour piece of shit television was old footage from years ago in some cases. Yes, they might have been able to do an interview with the odd Western Australian sheriff, common law sheriff, and God love them for even bothering to give this androgynous piece of whatever it is the time, when Channel 7 were always only ever going to do a hit piece on the sovereign citizens. The thing that annoys me the most about this is that they take the piss out of people for oh, well, they don't accept being called sovereign citizen. Well, that's because if that androgynous piece of shit journalist had even bothered to look up the meanings of the words sovereign and citizen, she would learn that is why sovereign citizens do not like or accept that term, because the two cannot be put together. Of course, that's not expedient for mainstream media. And that androgynous piece of shit that was controlling that story had no idea. And the biggest joke of them all, the bit that I guess most people would have watched for, and I didn't see the ad for this program until about 20 minutes before it went to air. Somebody drew my attention to it, and I threw up Channel 7 on a computer screen, and sure enough, they played the ad, and I saw Bosie's head pop up on it, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Well, Bosie's historical head, she can't even get his name right to begin with, but I'm not here to defend Ricardo. What I would simply point out is that Ricardo has not been part of any conversation in this country that I'm aware of in the last 3 years. Not since he discovered that Americans would donate to him. And yes, they said, oh, he's making it big in America at the moment. Well, I've warned a couple of our American brethren over there, particularly the one who comes out and says, this is the man who's going to lead Australia. That won't happen. Ricardo Bosie may be a lot of things, and a lot of very, very good things, but a communicator and a leader of the Australian people, he definitely is not, for a variety of reasons. And to put yourself forward and allow the Americans to believe that you have such a large supporter base here in Australia is not acting in honour, I wouldn't have thought. Okay, you never let somebody, you never put them on the straight and narrow if they're going to help your argument, obviously. But I don't know that in this particular battle that we're fighting, that is the right mind frame. I would have thought you'd want to be inclusive and be honest with particularly the Americans. However, let them believe what they believe. Here in Australia, Ricardo Bosey has not been seen in the uniform that he was seen in that show since Canberra in 2022. I don't know that he's even worn that SAS beret since that time. He may have. There have been some questions asked about his SAS service, trying to get a little bit more information about that from, well, former SAS members. And it's proving difficult because there is none. Take from that what you will. I have seen a lot of pictures of Bosey wearing the green beret when he was a younger man, the green beret of the commandos. But that is a whole different thing to the SAS. So look, still digging, going to be interesting. But I thought the way that they threw Bosey in at the end of it, they're trying to make him appear to be some form of leader in this movement. I've got news for them. There are no leaders in this movement. There are just people who are waking up. Bosey happened to be one who woke a lot of people up. But there are no leaders in this movement. There are people who would like you to follow their follow their ideas. But most people are putting the discernment God gave us to good use. And many are finding that those people are not the way forward. So fingers crossed that these things are seen for what they are. Now, this story about Desi Freeman, my God. So there is another 7 story going around about the Desi Freeman shooting. For those people who aren't aware, there is a guy called Biff who runs an online show on YouTube called The Chaos Chronicles. Now, Biff may have had a colourful past, let's put it, but he's pretty well connected. He also understands how police investigations work. And he took his drone and overflew the property at Thagollalong, I think it's called, where Desi Freeman was gunned down. His drone crashed. He felt rather than leaving it there as a potential fire-starting hazard, he better go in and get it. There was somebody on the property. He got their permission to go in and get it, and he did. Now, of course, he's being chased with trespass and is going to be served with a summary offence. But his vision is the only vision of the crime scene. Channel 7 will tell you that they had a reporter embedded in the police, and I think she's going to tell you that she was seeing the texts that they were getting both in amongst the police and the texts that Desi was sending and receiving as well. I don't believe a word of it. I don't believe any of it at all. What I would be interested in seeing is the vision of the day. In fact, I'd like to see the vision of the 2 murdered police officers, and particularly the body-worn camera of the 3rd guy who got away. I'd like to see any vision of that first interaction with Desi. And then I would like to see all of the vision from the Thagollalong farm. And if the police are going to say, well, there isn't any, bullshit. You had at least 1 television camera crew embedded with you and at least 2 newspaper journalists that I saw taking photos on the day from the scene. There are a lot of lies about what's going on around Desi Freeman. And a lot of the vision that came out of the Chaos Chronicles drone flight raises a lot more questions than it does provide answers, particularly gunshot trajectories. There was a lot of incoming gunfire into Desi. Apparently, he fired 2 shots, apparently. I don't necessarily believe that, but there is evidence of a shot that has been fired in the opposite direction to where the large, vast amount of incoming fire was coming from. The reason we can tell which directions the bullets were coming from is because when the bullets were fired, they went through a boat, an aluminium boat. The aluminium boat was rolled over, so it was upside down on the ground. It was sitting on a couple of bits of thin wood, just raised off the ground slightly. It wasn't high up. It wasn't waist height or anything like that. It was a little tinny boat. Now, there are a lot of telltale gunshots sign on that boat where police have fired their semi-automatic or automatic weapons straight through the boat, presumably at Desi. If that is the case, then Desi was lying on the ground while they were shooting him. Now, could they have shot him prior to him getting to the ground? Well, I guess there's a possibility. But there's no indication that he'd fired any shots. There is an indication of a shot fired into that boat at ground level, basically, just slightly above ground level. And the exit point on the boat is also at ground level. So it didn't go very far. If Desi was firing, he wasn't aiming anywhere specifically. However, there is a shitload of heavy weapons fire sign through that boat and other parts. What there isn't any sign of is blood. None. Nor is there any sign of anywhere where the dirt that Desi presumably bled to death in was. That might have been removed. No sign of any dirt being removed from anywhere. When you're hit with a high-powered weapon, a high-powered bullet, there is a bit of blood spatter. And when I say a bit, I mean a lot. It can go a long, long, long way. Behind and to the side of where Desi was supposedly gunned down is a white shipping container with not 1 ounce of blood, not a sign anywhere, nor is there any sign of blood inside of the containers that Desi was holed up in. This Channel 7 waste of time is purely designed for the weak of mind. And they interviewed one of them, a father, who was concerned about his boys and the way that they conflated what was happening with his boys to the sovereign citizen movement. His boys were apparently seen at the fire at the front of Old Parliament House when the doors were set on fire. That was done by First Nations people. That wasn't done by sovereign citizens. That was a First Nations attack that cost $5 million to repair. It had nothing to do with sovereign citizens. But his kids were there. He got his knickers in a knot. His wife, or ex-wife, was the lady that was dragged out of the car in Coffs Harbour. I think the window was smashed and she was dragged out. Made all that news back in 2022. Now, they've still got quite bitter divorce and whatnot going on after that. But this fella is just a pathetic human being. He is so wound up in the farce that I think he has to be a Freemason. A bit like that Western Australian copper that leads the Western Australian coppers. My God. People in Western Australia, get out. Get out, get out. I mean, shit, that bloke has signalled that he doesn't care what you think. He doesn't care about your rights. He cares about what he thinks society wants. Laws do not come into it. Why is it that the sovereign citizen movement, and I say that spitting chips because it's not how I would refer to this movement at all, but why is it our movement has a lot of ex-police and quite a large number of very learned, lawyerly types in it? Why doesn't the androgynous thing from Channel 7 go and interview them? Why don't they come and interview me? Maybe we could get Fitz and I on for a bit of a chat with Channel 7. Fitz isn't talking to me, but he might talk to them. But that won't happen because that would be giving the other side of the argument a voice. People's discernment might wake up. They might learn a little bit more. They might decide to ask a few more questions. And if they do that, well, the jig is up, isn't it? So if you haven't seen this and waste of thing tonight on Spotlight, don't waste your time. The crack hack job that they tried to do on Bosie is laughable if you are anything at all involved in this movement. If you are just a supporter of it, or if you're somebody who turns up and actively gets involved, you haven't seen Bosie at anywhere you've been in 3 years, have you? The last time I think I saw Bosie stand up in public to speak, he tried to do it when the Aussie Cossack had him in Sydney for something, and then he couldn't get up on the stage. I want to say it's the same day the Cossack outed the pedophile and went to jail for it. It could be the same time. I can't remember another time where Bosie's got up and spoken publicly. He's certainly not doing too much down on the southeast coast of New South Wales. So, gets his 2 shows a week out to America, and the Lord has asked me to ask you to keep sending in the money, and I guess that's where it's coming from, because there aren't too many here having a go. Yeah, Angel, you're doing you're doing all the heavy lifting here. If you're explaining the Desi case, yeah, Desi had a very fitting case against Dan Andrews, and well, you can see how it ended up. It's not going to help Desi, but I think that Dan Andrews is going to be made accountable. I'm hearing all sorts of things. I'm not sure what you're referring to here. Watching Bosie's weekly briefs with American military ops? I don't, because after about a year of watching them, I've found he says the same thing over and over and over and over and over. And while what he is saying is pretty important, the battlefield has moved on. And while the things he is saying are still important, they're not as important as keeping up with the battlefield. Ricardo may be looking at a different battlefield. He may be still clinging to the fact that America is coming to save us. And that would be the only reason that I would be talking to the Americans if I was him, to build that rapport with them. But if he was going to be put up as the interim leader to Australia in that scenario, how many Australians do you think are going to accept him? I mean, I wish more probably would, but I just don't see it happening. But anyway, the hack job on Bosie was simply there. Why? To bring his name back into the Australian sphere? Or was it because that androgynous turd that was doing that story, I still don't know if it was a him or a her, if that androgynous thing actually thinks that Bosie is part of this movement still, or a leader or a dangerous portion of it or whatever, they haven't done any research at all. All they've done is go back through their historical vision library and pick out some pretty pictures and written a story around it. Absolutely friggin' pathetic. Can you be a sovereign and a citizen at the same time? No, you cannot. You cannot, is the simple and short answer. If you would like to know why, I have a series of Magna Carta videos back on this channel. I think we did 30 or 40 of them, and it will explain to you in great detail. Please go and watch those Magna Carta videos, all right? And that will bring you up to date. Treason for attending the final parade is telling timing. Yeah, I think you're right there too. There was a lot of theatre around what happened with Desi, Pete. I think that's the best way. They're telling Bosie we have to go through pain and save ourselves. Well, Bosie's been saying that forever. Bosie's been saying we have to save ourselves forever. I've been saying the same things. So hang on, whose pocket am I in? Oh, thank you. Only time will tell. Brett, I don't know who you are. I haven't even seen one of your comments. Makes no impact on my life at all. But if you are a numbnuts, mate, you're in the wrong place. If you want to try and pick a fight about sovereigns and citizens, then I urge you, do yourself the favor and go and look at a dictionary and get the definitions of both words. Then see, if this is your problem, how you can put those two words together and still make sense of what it claims to say. Now, if you can do that, you're a much better man than any English scholar I've ever come. So, Brett, I don't know if you're having a go or if you're just not part of it, but you no problem with me? All right. Well, I don't care. I don't mind if people have problems with me. I'm very apt to being wrong too, and quite happily being told that I'm wrong. But you'll want to back that up with some supporting evidence, because I will. I'll back up my side. So, Brett, no, thanks, mate. All good. No problem with you either. The biggest problem that I see is people want this over and done with soonest, and we haven't had enough pain yet. Nowhere near enough pain yet. When there's blokes who appeared in that show tonight walking along the beach with the androgynous thing, absolutely terrified of two words, sovereign citizen. So much so that he's making threats about anybody who'll come for his kid. Well, I mean, if anybody came for my kid, trust me, I'd be making the same threats. However, why would they be coming? That's a domestic issue. That's not a sovereign citizen issue. It's a domestic issue. And this weak man came on and cried, carried on, and exposed his ignorance to the entire argument. Now, he may have a bias because he divorced the woman, I think, 2 years previous to that. So they've had an acrimonious relationship. But the bloke didn't have to come out and just show us how little intellect he actually has. That's a bit embarrassing. But probably not as embarrassing as that androgynous thing from Channel 7, who has no idea. Or maybe she does have the idea because she was told this is what the story will say. So it makes it a lot easier when you've got to produce a story for television when all you've got to do is use historical vision. You know, all the shit from Canberra. Interesting that they used Paul's truck in the very first shot. Paul's truck with the Aussie Cossack on it. The Aussie Cossack didn't get a mention through it all. Bit interesting. I would have thought he would have rated a mention there too. But, well, maybe his citizenry is not so much sovereign, I guess, is it? But anyway, all a bit of fun. I just couldn't let that show go without saying anything, and tomorrow's going to be a busy day. So I thought I'll get out and have my say now, because the pathetic producers at Channel 7, who will never hear this or never watch this, or they're too arrogant to bother watching anything that, I would do. They just embarrass themselves so completely. I wouldn't bother. Well, I'm lucky I even remembered who they were tonight to turn on Channel 7. I had to go and redo a password because I couldn't remember. It's been that long since I've watched anything like free-to-air TV. I couldn't remember who it was. Who is the androgynous thing I'm talking about? Eddie, whatever that thing was that did the interview on the Channel 7 show tonight. I don't know who she is, he is, it is, don't know what it is, but it's It's not half as smart as I'd like to think it is, put it that way. At any rate, maybe I'm not either. We're all learning. I'm certainly not the oracle of all knowledge, and we're all just blindly pushing our way through here to try and wake more people up as we can. Maybe they're bringing more spotlight into our movement. Well, if they were going to do that, Beck, and I wish they would, I hope they do, but if they were going to do that, I probably wouldn't have done it in the way that the androgynous piece of work did. That was a very biased story. Channel 7 laid their bias wide open and on the ground. Their Masonic rights, I guess, were laid out. Their bona fides. Their bosses will be very happy. But I've got to say, it is without doubt, and don't watch it if you haven't seen it. Don't give them the pleasure of getting an online rating out of it. It is nothing new. You have seen nothing new in that program tonight. All you've seen is dredged up video and a story written around it to match whatever that person, that androgynous thing, wanted the story to come out like. A lot of people waving flags, shouting, you know, not too many large groups screaming, I'm a sovereign citizen, because those groups are smart enough to understand that you can't put the two words together. If you're calling yourself a sovereign citizen, I'll call you a moron. You're not part of what we do. And we already know that the mainstream media are morons. Or they're working against us. Take your pick. You take the less offensive option. Are they morons and don't know what they're doing, or are they actively working against finding this solution? I'm pretty confident we're going to find that they're working against us. That's my take on it at any rate. All right, I'm not going to keep on talking. I've gone half an hour, and I didn't mean to go that long. I do have a little bit of news about the cruise. We are heading off tomorrow, 4th of May. God, it seems like forever we've been talking about it, and we're heading off tomorrow. It's only a 5-day, 4-night cruise, so Airlie Beach and back. See you in Airlie Beach if you're up that way. Lynn and co, see you there on Wednesday. Unfortunately, Waptha will not be joining us. I got the phone call yesterday. His surgeon came in yesterday and saw him. They had a long, deep, and all-encompassing conversation, which ended in no bloody way from the doctor. Greg's okay. He's a bit disappointed, and so is his young bloke who was coming as well. He's a bit disappointed, but it's pretty clear he needs to stay in hospital, probably until at least the middle of next week. So we might see him at the end of the cruise. If he's out, I have no doubt he'll be meeting us when we get back. But if he's not out, then, oh, well, a couple of us might take a drive up north and see him. So we'll see what happens. But at this stage of the game, sadly, Greg won't be joining us, and one down for the cruise. But there's still a fair few of us who will be heading out and having a good time. So I know everybody was very much looking forward to meeting him, but it'll have to be the next one. And trust me, we've now made him the cruise director, so there will be a next one. So I'm led to believe. Have a good night, folks. We will have another chat tomorrow, but it will be from the deck of the Carnival Encounter at some stage early tomorrow afternoon. Have yourself a great day, and don't go and watch this 7 spotlight bullshit. And if somebody brings it up to you, just laugh and say, my God, what an historic piece of shit that was. And who is that androgynous thing that hosted it?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!